Hi, everyone, and welcome to Thursday Thoughts. I am Pastor Alex Bruning. It is Thursday, but I don't have any thoughts. Today's thoughts are going to come from Sandy Martin, our wonderful member of First United Methodist Church in Jessup here. And she's going to share a little bit about the spiritual discipline she practices in her life as part of our Thinking Discipline series that we are continuing. So, hi, Sandy. Welcome. Thanks for joining me.
Thank you.
This is our first ever Thursday Thoughts via Zoom. I usually have my guests come and physically join me. And so we ask you to offer us a little bit of grace as we try and figure out how to do this over Zoom amidst social distancing. So Sandy is a former Cedar Falls resident. She lived in Cedar Falls for a really long time and ended up transplanted in Jessup. So Sandy, how did you end up transplanted in Jessup?
Well, that's interesting. I worked at John Deere for almost 32 years, and I was on a team at work called a problem solving work group. And that's where I met Bob Martin, who was from Jessup. And we were on the same team, and we met week after week, and something about fishing came up, and I mentioned that, oh, my dad and I used to love to go fishing. We'd go up to Minnesota, and he always went to Canada. And well, that kind of piqued Bob's interest because he loved fishing. So anyway, long story short, he asked me out, and we started dating. And I didn't think I'd ever leave Cedar Falls because, I mean, that was my place. And he asked me if I'd at least look at houses in Jessup, and I said, yeah, just to appease him. I thought, there's no way I'm moving there. But we looked at a few houses and found one that I thought, oh, this is kind of cool, and drove around town and stuff. Anyway, we ended up buying that house, and we lived there for over 30 years. And now I pretty much feel like, Jessup is as much of a hometown as Cedar Falls was, but I'm still kind of a Cedar Falls Tiger girl,
But you do have two boys who were
Yes.
Jessup Jayhawks, right?
Yes, yeah. Eric actually went to school in Cedar Falls through third grade.
Okay.
Started fourth grade in Jessup, and Scott started kindergarten there. So, yep, they both graduated from there, and I love the Jessup community. It's so nice, walking around and seeing everybody that you know, and you don't get that as much in Cedar Falls just because it's a bigger town. And then, well, it's 2.5 years, almost 3 years now that we moved to Independence.
And Independence has some interesting things going on that I have learned through years. The one thing that I think is so cool about Independence is that our book Iowa, or
One book, one. Yeah.
One Book One, yes.
Yes.
All of Independence, right? Reads one book
That's
for a year.
a cool thing. Yeah. Yeah. Everybody that wants to take part, I mean, they make available like 30, 40 copies of the same book and put them in different stores downtown, and you pick them up. You don't check them out. You can keep them as long as you want, and then pass it off to a neighbor or a friend. And then they have a lot of programming that goes along with it. So you go to the library and meetings. Like this year, we met some veterans that had service dogs and companion animals, and because that's what the book was pretty much about, and stuff. So yeah, that's a really cool thing that they have in Independence. So
Now, are they usually Iowa authors?
no, I don't think necessarily.
Okay. Because I know, was it last year they had you talking about World War II camps in Iowa?
Yes, that was either last year or the year before.
Okay.
Yeah, because last year I think it was about mental health hospitals.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, I remember that now.
Had tours of MHI, and which I never got into because they filled up just like that. There's such an interest, but the year before it was about prisoner of war camps, and I didn't even realize that Algona, Iowa, had one of the biggest ones in our section of the country. So
Yeah.
a lot from that. So
I think that's such a good way to bring a community together around something. And Sandy is one who does well bringing community together. One of our very strong ministries in our church here in Jessup is our card making ministries. Sandy started this. How long ago, Sandy?
Well, I was asking my sister, and we figured it was probably about 13 years ago.
Okay.
Because the reason we figured that out, I wish I would have taken notes back then. I really do, but I wasn't doing any forward thinking. But anyway, my two sisters and I were going to Oklahoma, north of Tulsa, where my brother lives, to surprise him for his 50th birthday. So that would have been about 13 years ago. And we stopped at a card making shop, a scrapbook store or something, and they had a card rack for sale. And I thought, oh, now that would be great for our card making thing. So that's the one that we used to have for so many years at the church. That,
The one that spun around.
yes, yeah.
Okay.
So that's why we figured it had to be at least that long ago. So 2007, I think. Yeah. So,
Okay. So
and
tell us.
how I even found out about that was Jan had mentioned it. My sister, Jan Benson, she's a member of First United Methodist Church in Cedar Falls, and they had a card making program there. So she invited me to that once. And I thought, wow, this would be fun if we did this. So that's kind of what got the wheels spinning and started the whole thing off. And here we are.
So you take so that for people who have never been before, you take used cards
Yes.
and kind of cut out the personal parts, right?
Yep.
And then remake them into new cards, I guess. Is that how you would explain it?
Kind of where we came up with the, excuse me, with the name of it, New Life cards. We kind of give new life to those old greeting cards. So yes, that's exactly what we do. We cut them apart and glue them back on new card stock and put some ribbons and glitter glue and bows and whatever we want on them. But yeah, that's basically what we do. And we've had a lot of card donations. I've got a huge bag full of cards just ready to be remade. So yeah,
And people can bring those old cards into the church, right?
yeah,
Not currently, because
well,
unfortunately
that's
you can't
true.
do that right now. But during usual times, I guess,
Mhm.
they can bring those old cards in and donate them, and then maybe even see them later on the card rack and get to use them themselves.
That's true. Yeah. And in fact, it's been kind of fun. Sometimes we'll be making cards, and then one that hasn't been cut apart, I'll say, "Oh my gosh, look at this, Arla! You sent this to someone else because your and John's name is on the bottom, and here we are remaking it, to put out new." So
And you meet every other month-ish, right?
every other month, yeah. Um, I have a lot of supplies, and it's just I thought it was just too much work. I'm a little on the lazy side. Too much work to haul all that stuff back and forth every month. Um, and I've warned the girls. I said, when Bob isn't able to help me with this anymore, I'm going to have to be done, because he loads everything into my car, unloads it, comes back at the end of the day, loads it into my car, unloads it when we get home. But I maybe it's been longer, but at least 4 or 5 years ago, some of the gals were cleaning the Sunday school rooms, and they did clean out a whole cabinet so that I can keep a lot of stuff at the church. So that helped a lot.
Well,
So
and you have so many supplies in part because people who come, they don't have to bring any supplies if they don't have any. If they
that's true.
never scrapbooked before, you have everything there to help them learn how to make cards.
Yeah, that's true. So yeah, they don't really have to bring anything, but yeah, that's kind of why we only do it every other month. But it's been a lot of fun, when I'm setting it all up, I'm kind of oh, I've got to do this, got to do that. But then when the gals get there, and guys are welcome to join us too. When the gals get there, it's just so much fun just sitting and visiting, and then we have a little lunch. We bring something to share with each other, and it's well worth it. It's been a great mission, and we've done a lot as far as mission type items that we've been able to donate towards. I wrote a note of some of the ones we've done, like way back in 2011, we bought only one, but one of the big white tables that we use in our, what do you call that?
In our fellowship hall.
Yes.
Yeah, we know what you're talking about, Sandy. We got you.
We bought one of those tables, and then in 2014, Jim Alberts came up to me, and they were doing some sidewalk repair right outside the north door there. And he asked if our group had any funds at all. So we donated $100 towards that. And we've also donated a lot of money to Heifer Project and the Food Pantry and the Haiti Clean Water Initiative. I'm not sure what they call that.
With the Community Health Initiative Haiti, they used to have a latrine program in particular, which I know, I think the Card Making Club donated a whole latrine, right?
Yes, we've done that twice.
Oh, New Life Cards has done that twice. Wow. Awesome. Yeah. Which is just amazing. Our, those latrines are $250, $300 a piece to build a latrine in Haiti, which services about 12 to 14 people, offering them not only a place to use the restroom, but also then clean water, because they're not having to use the restroom and contaminate their water sources. So that's 28 people that New Life Cards has given cleaner, healthier water to.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And Feed My Starving Children, that's always a big one. And we donate to the group in Jessup. Is it called Giving Spirit, maybe, at Christmas?
Yeah, the Giving Spirit, yeah.
So we donate to them. And I added up some of the things, and it came up to almost $2,000 that we've donated. It was like $1,850 or something like that. So and it's fun. It makes us feel good, that, and this is all from the sale of our cards.
Yeah, so your cards don't have a price on them.
Right.
But people can make a free will offering for any cards that they take from our card rack, right?
Yep. And if anybody, anybody in our church or anywhere knows of a mission where they could use some funds, we usually have money in our accounts, so we'd be happy to help out, for certain things. So all you have to do is just find me and tell me about it.
And right now she's really easy to find because she's not going anywhere.
Can't go anywhere.
Yeah, and in fact, New Life Cards even helped put a new furnace in the parsonage this winter.
That's true. Yes.
So thank you. I really appreciate that.
Keep you and the kiddos warm.
Yes.
And too, I guess.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, so I love the card ministry, the New Life Card ministry that you operate at our church, Sandy, and I know I send those cards pretty regularly, and I love when I get to receive them. I haven't gotten to make them in a long time. It just hasn't worked in my schedule, which is probably good for the card rack, because I don't really contribute to the card rack. I usually just bring the ones I make home because I love them so much.
You're not the only one. A lot of the gals do that. They'll end up buying, and here they make them and then they buy them. Like they'll go home with maybe 8-10 cards.
Yes.
Made. So anyway, we usually make, it just differs on how many people show up to make them, but a lot of times there's been like 70 cards we've made. One time I know we were at almost 100.
Yeah.
And stuff. So yeah, it's fun. We welcome anybody that wants to join us. So
one of my favorite things too is on the back of the card, Sandy has a stamp and I can't remember exactly what it says, Sandy.
I think it says recycled by First United Methodist Church of Jessup.
And so like people know that this is really actually homemade. And
Should have done that a long time ago, and somebody mentioned it to me a couple times, and because that's just been in the last maybe couple years or so that we've had that. But yeah, it is nice to know where they came from. So
well, another reason that I wanted to bring you on, other than I just love talking to you, is you've shared with me podcasts every once in a while that you listen to as kind of a spiritual practice in your own life. Can you tell us a little bit, how did you get started listening to podcasts, and what podcasts do you listen to?
a little about it. So I'm not so good about reading the Bible. I feel like I'm in confession now. But by listening to this podcast, I feel like I'm, trying to do a little bit more, um, since I don't read the Bible real often, and I do read the Upper Rooms, and I do have another couple books that I look through. But like one of them is this. I don't know if you can see that or not. Jesus Always.
Yeah.
But and I like that. But here's what happens. See, I'm only on March 9th, and here it is April. So I need to do better at that even. But the podcast is again, my sister in Cedar Falls told me about it, and it's Adam Hamilton. He's a pastor in the Kansas City area, Leawood, Kansas, actually. It's the biggest United Methodist church in the world. And I know it's one of those huge mega churches, and
Yeah.
it's
So 20,000 plus members.
yes,
We're
22,000.
yeah, and their sanctuary that they built a couple of years ago now was like a $6 million project, I think it was.
Probably
Or is it?
3,500 seats.
Yes, it's huge. It's like a
Yeah.
stadium in there. Yeah.
And that wouldn't be for me personally, because I love our Jessup church. I love my church family. I wouldn't leave for anything. Um, but one time I was, and I'll get back to how I got started with it, but one of the times I was listening to him, he did say that yes, it's a huge church, and no, I can't meet and know everybody like in a real personal way like I would wish I could. But he pointed out all the things that a mega church like that can do, and they do. Like every Christmas Eve, their candlelight service, every penny that comes in the offering, they donate out to, most of it to local, like kids that are in need, or low income people. They do a lot with it, and I'm pretty sure, I couldn't find it, but I'm pretty sure he said that they bring in over $1 million on Christmas Eve.
Oh, I can believe that.
$1 million,
Yeah.
which was just like mind blowing. But and they have a book thing where the congregation, they buy books for kids to help with their reading, and the low income ones, and they've donated thousands and thousands of books. But so with those big churches, they can do a lot because they have a lot, but still, I'm Jessa. He did say that uh, how they handle that is they have a lot of small group meetings, and he said that's where people get closer, and that's even true in our church. I know we've had small group things, and you just feel like you're so much closer to the people that join in on those groups. You get to know them better, and know just more about them, that way. So there are some downsides to the big church, but there's some good things too. So, but no, Jan had told me about that podcast, and anybody can download it if you have a podcast app, and then you just do a search on. It's called Church of the Resurrection. I can't remember exactly how you find it, but if you put it in the search, I think you can come up with it and stuff. So I've just learned a lot from listening. Not more than I learned from you, Pastor Alex. I mean, I learn a lot from you too.
Well, Adam and I, Reverend Hamilton and I, have kind of different preaching styles. So Reverend Hamilton, because what the podcast is, correct me if I'm wrong, Sandy, is his Sunday sermon, right?
Yes, it is. Yes.
Yes. And he preaches usually for about 40 minutes, I think. Would you say that's average length of a podcast, Sandy?
I think so. Yep.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And he does a lot more history, I think, in his than I do. He is a teacher. At least when I've listened to him, I think he's a teacher. He loves to teach the history of things.
Yes. And the what would you call that? The land. He wants you to learn where
the geography
and where, yes, geography. He loves to teach that part too. But he does do a lot like you too, though, Alex, because he does relate a lot of things to his life and his kids and his dogs, like growing up, and the things that he's done. And I know that he loves his I can't remember what year it is, Mustang convertible. So he does, relate some of those things too, but he is a teacher. I listen to his sermons when I'm in my bathroom doing my makeup and my hair and stuff. Well, I haven't been doing much of that lately. I can't go anywhere and nobody comes here, so what? What difference does it make? But I will listen to him, and I've made myself, like at the end of his sermon, he always has a prayer. And whatever I'm doing, I put my mascara down, I'll put my brush down, whatever, and I make myself listen to that prayer. And he has you repeat a lot of things during the prayer and stuff, and I always try to do that. But yeah, I just really enjoy it. And like I say, I just feel like that's one way that I can, learn more about what's in the Bible and stuff, because I don't read it a lot, and I feel badly about that, but I guess this is better than nothing. Maybe.
And Reverend Hamilton tends to work in series as well.
Mm-hmm. That's true.
They're kind of, each week is connected, and he's done a lot of book series of the Bible. I mean, he's done like a whole series on the Gospel of John. Is that right?
Yes, he has. And I have a book, I think, yeah, it is the Gospel of John, the book that Jan gave me that he's written. Yeah.
And it's really interesting. One of the things that I went to school. My master's program actually was housed inside Church of the Resurrection. So my school, St. Paul School of Theology, where I got my MDiv, moved to the campus in Leawood my second year of seminary. And so the Church of the Resurrection and my university are partners, because seminary education is struggling right now. And so we got to hear from Reverend Hamilton quite a bit in that partnership. And he talked about how when he writes a sermon, it is essentially a chapter in a book. So that the Gospel of John sermon series that you would hear on his podcast, he would then later turn into the Gospel of John study book that is published, and other churches can get it. So with some of his things, there are multiple ways that you can really access it. So maybe if you're not a podcast listener like Sandy is, checking out one of Adam Hamilton's books would be another option of finding and learning from him as well.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've just really enjoyed them. Just trying to think if there's anything else. I know one of the stories that he just related in his last sermon. And are we short on time?
No, you're good.
Quit talking.
We're good.
um, and I may not get all the details right, but uh, last week or 2 weeks ago, whenever it was, he was said that he was sitting out on his porch working on one of his books, and one of his a thunderstorm started, and one of his dogs came over, and he's a big dog and not afraid of anything. I mean, he would scare anybody away. But when this thunderstorm came rolling in, the dog was so scared. So Adam took him inside, and the dog, he's like a 60-pound dog, and he tried to get mad. Is it okay if I call him Adam, or does it need to be Pastor Adam? Or
I, I'm good with Adam. I'm not sure what he'd say, but
no, anyway, he's not going to watch this.
hey, you never know. You're going to be famous. I told you.
Anyway, so this dog tried to jump into his lap and just buried his head in his chest. And, so Adam would stroke his head to calm him down. And he pretty much turned that around and said, this is kind of like what we are with God. When we're afraid of things like this pandemic thing that's going around right now, there's a lot of us that are so afraid, and some people are probably a little panicky, and we don't know what's going to happen. We're missing our friends, so many things. And what we need to do is just lean into God. He's going to wrap his arms around us and keep us safe, and we can depend on him. I mean, we can always go to him. He's always going to look out for us, and that's kind of how Adam related that. He's our master. God is our master, and he's just stroking our heads like Adam did his dog, to make us feel better. So if we could learn to go to him more in times like this, and it might bring a little more peace to us, just to know that we are being taken care of. So it's kind of a scary thing we're going through right now, but we'll get through it. But yeah, that's kind of it about the podcast. But I do enjoy them. But like I say, they're not as good as going to church and listening to you. One thing I did do, I was going to tell you, sometimes if I think about it, when he says something, I'll write it down. I've got a little thing on my phone on quotes, and like one thing he says is, your life does not have to be defined by the worst thing you ever did. And I really like that. I need to tell myself that sometimes. And then the worst thing is not the last thing. That's a couple that I have from him, but you know what? I have a couple from Pastor Alex right here on my phone too. Like mercy triumphs over judgment. I've always liked that when you had, I don't remember the sermon that went with it, but
that was a long time
that
ago.
was a long time ago.
A long time ago.
And here's one: we cannot be both faithful and fearful, from you. So I've got a few down here. Here's another one, Adam Hamilton. There is always joy on the backside of sorrow if you don't give up. So that might be even a good one for our times that we're going through right now.
Yes.
Yeah. So,
well, Sandy, I thank you so much for joining me today on our Thursday Thoughts, and for sharing with us about New Life Cards. And if you're interested in joining New Life Cards, we would love to have you join. We have people from all kinds of churches. You don't have to be a member of First United Methodist or of any church. If you want to come and make cards, we'd love to have you. And if you want more information on podcasts, especially on Adam Hamilton's podcast, I'm sure Sandy would love to share that with you. I can offer you just a couple of other podcasts that I would suggest as well, that I listen to. Let's see. I'm going to try and give you ones that aren't, I listen to a lot of ones that are geared towards writing sermons. So if you want those, I'm happy to share those too. But one of my favorites is For the Love, which is a podcast by Jen Hatmaker. And Sandy, I think you would enjoy her. She is just real and honest. She's a good Texan, and she is not afraid to say anything. So check hers out, For the Love. The other one, let me, I have to see if I can find it. Of course, I can't find it in my phone right now. So I might have to share a few links because I can't find my any podcast that Glennon Doyle shares. I absolutely love. So I really enjoy reading her things as well. They're both just a strong female presence. I think if you have a male pastor, sometimes it's nice to hear a female pastor as well. And I think the same goes with Adam. I mean, if you listen to me as a female pastor, having a male pastor to offer not an opposite view, but a different take on life. I think that's good to create a little bit of a dynamic, and also just from a different place as well. Adam is almost at retirement age.
And then I wonder what's going to happen.
Yeah. And so, I mean, he's getting closer to retirement age. So he has lots of experience in ministry to offer as well. So that's kind of, I think, a nice thing to have lots of voices that we can learn from.
It is nice. Yeah.
Well, if Sandy, is there anything else you want to add or say or?
Well, I thought Bob and Charlie were going to pop in. I was going to have them say hi, but he took him outside and they're not back in yet. So
I think he's doing that on purpose.
Yeah, probably.
Well,
no, just that I miss everybody so much, like you do, Pastor Alex. I mean, it's, this is great, but it's not the same. And I should tell you, my sister Jan again. Gosh, I've been talking a lot about her. She said that they were going stir crazy yesterday, and so they went for a drive, and they did stop over because I had a book for her and she had a toy for Charlie. But so we're talking in our driveway, 6 feet apart, and gosh, I just wanted to hug her, but I guess we don't get to do that for a while, but we'll get to a time when we can. So
well, and I even think about that. The last Sunday we had worship together. Sandy, you were in Arkansas, was it?
Yes.
Yes, you were in Arkansas that Sunday, but we couldn't shake hands and we couldn't hug. And Mary May was one of the last people to leave, and I always hug Mary May, and I couldn't hug her goodbye, and it didn't feel right.
I know it doesn't, does it? No. I know. We'll get there though. We will.
Yes.
Just as long as everybody stays inside, don't go into any crowds, and just keep washing those hands.
That's right. And remember, Lord's Prayer while you wash your hands.
I do that.
It's the right amount of time. I watched an interesting video today, Sandy, about how to wash your hands. So, you've always been told in between the fingers and the back of the hands. Well, this video also said you should rub your knuckles like this, because these knuckles frequently get missed.
Oh, really?
Yes. And I was like, I never wash those knuckles.
No.
Yeah. So maybe add this to your hand washing routine as well. Yeah.
Bob, come over here a minute and say hi to everybody. Pick up your doggy. You don't mind, do you?
No, of course I don't mind.
You can say hi. He's missing everybody too. He loves his guy chat after the services. They get over in their corner, and there, I don't know when you can see it.
Go there. Down a little further. There we go. Hi.
Hi, everybody.
It's so good to see you, Bob. Are you enjoying your walks?
We had a nice walk today. A little windy out there, but a nice walk.
Oh, God. I bet he's glad to have you home.
Pardon?
I bet he's glad to have you home.
Oh, yeah. He is. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, Bob, thanks for joining us. And Sandy, thank you so much. And
You bet.
um, I'm gonna end our recording,
Okay.
and then we can chat for a minute, Sandy. So everyone, thank you for joining us for Thursday Thoughts. If you have any questions or comments, feel free to drop those down below. I just have a little public service announcement. Next Thursday, there will be no Thursday Thoughts. But that is because we are going to be posting a Monday, Thursday service on our YouTube channel. So I'm super excited. I have teamed up with Pastor Kristen Rod of the American Lutheran Church and Pastor John White of First Presbyterian here in Jessup. And we have a very special Monday, Thursday service for you that we will be recording on Monday, and it will be posted Thursday morning. And it's going to involve a dialogue sermon. So you're actually going to hear all three of us preach a sermon together. So I'm really excited about that. So make sure next Thursday you check out our Monday, Thursday service. We will also be posting a Good Friday service on our YouTube channel. So don't miss that either. If you are in need of anything, toilet paper, food, whatever it might be, reach out to me. We would love to help you. And thanks again for listening to our thoughts this Thursday.